Hey everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm James, that's Katie, and of course that makes this the first episode of Circles and Squares for 2021, and it's episode number 21, so I guess that worked out pretty well. How you doing, Kate?
It's almost like we timed it. I'm good. I've, started out the new year on a good start, and I hope everyone else has as well.
Yeah, Happy New Year to everyone out there. Hopefully the first, the 7th today, so hopefully the first week of 2021 has been good for you. Yeah, let's just hope it's a better year than 2020 in general, hey? And put that
It's
crap
gonna be
behind
tough
us.
to make it worse, but that is not a challenge.
That's true. Although it was a good year for games last year, though. So let's just say, maybe in that realm, let's just hope we keep it up. But everything else could improve. Um, Speaking of games from 2020, Kate, we have a really big game, Hades, to talk about on the show today. So that'll be the first segment where we discuss what we've been playing, just as we do at the start of every show. And after that, we'll take a break, get into the news for the last couple of weeks, which includes the PS Plus games for January 2021. For those of you who've been listening for any length of time, we like to pick a PS Plus game every month and give our impressions for the games every month. So we'll go over that, what we'll be picking in the second segment. And to end out the show, of course, in traditional, podcast, it's like a necessity on your podcast. You have to do some predictions, right? So for 2021, we'll be giving our predictions for PlayStation and video games in general, what's going to happen this year in gaming at the end of the show. So stick around for that. Of course, listener mail at the end as well. Anyways, guys, just before we talk about Hades, I would like to remind everyone that over on our Twitter, at CNSPod, of course, we have something called a link tree, which is a fancy link that just directs you anywhere you want to listen to us, be it a podcast service or, YouTube. And we would like to encourage everyone, if you're listening to this, to please just head over to our YouTube channel, subscribe, give us that sub. We're looking to try and build our audience over there. So even if you're not going to listen on YouTube, it would just be very much appreciated if you could go give us that subscription. And very much appreciated. Thank you so much. But yeah, Kate, enough about that kind of thing. Let's talk about Hades, because this game is amazing. And I'm so upset that we didn't play it earlier and get it included in our Game of the Year chat on our last episode. But we've, especially you've fallen like completely into this Hades addiction.
Yes, I've gone on the Hades rabbit hole. I think if definitely if I'd have played Hades earlier, my game of the years might have been amended to some degree. I don't know if it would have been my absolute game of the year, but it definitely would have been in contest for it.
Oh, me too, for sure. Like this, I decided to buy this at the end of last year. I think around the same time as you, maybe a little bit before. But ever since I've had it, I got it on Switch. You got on PC, so I don't know if there's too many difference there. But it's just this incredible loop. I know you were going back and playing Pyre a few episodes ago as well in preparation for this. So maybe we're doing a bit of a super giant rock block here, but this is like one of the best roguelikes for sure that I've ever played.
I 100% agree. I think the thing that blows me away about Hades since I've been playing it and it's the reason that I think I went over this slightly in my Back to Game of the Year talking about Divinity, and often one of the reasons that I tout like the Soulsborne games so much is because there are so many aspects of the game that could be the selling point on its own. Like the combat sells the game without any of the other features. Like the art direction and the story and the characters, like each one of those things stands on its own merit and doesn't require the rest of the game to be so phenomenal for it to be like compelling enough to play. But it has all of these features and these aspects, and the way that they like mesh together is so natural and so like cohesive that every time I play it, I'm like going in, like I'm excited to play one more run because there's a weapon I really like, like I want to talk to a certain NPC because I'm progressing their storyline, or like I want to know like how some conflict is going to play out. And then every time I'm blown away by like, oh yeah, shit, like this part of the game is amazing too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just one of those, like, all the mechanics and all the different parts of it feed into each other so well. You'll be going through your run, and there's a lot of different currencies that unlock different things for progression purposes, I guess. And when you get back from your run, you'll have to pick and choose, okay, yeah, who am I going to give my what's the drink called you give to people? It's the
we call it juice, but
it's called the juice. Yeah, the
nectar.
juice, whatever it is, the nectar.
Some Sunny D.
Yeah, it's like you got enough different characters, and they all seem to be, they all have quite interesting storylines and things they're going to talk to you about in between each run, or sometimes during the runs, I guess, if you talk about the gods up on Olympus or whatever. But there's just, different storylines to progress down that way. And then you also have the darkness, which is like a currency that you use to level up your base stats for every run. So you are getting more powerful every time, even if you're only, you're dying on the first boss, but you're still going to come back and probably, develop a stronger relationship with at least one character. Maybe you'll get an item from them, or maybe you'll upgrade Hades or Zagreus, sorry, so you'll have more health for next run. You're always making some kind of progress, even if you die very early on, which I really appreciate, because the roguelikes that don't offer any kind of progression between run to run, I feel like are the ones that you fall off from. Whereas games like Hades, the roguelites like Enter the Gungeon, Slay the Spire, Hades, those are the ones that really suck you in, or at least in my opinion, just because of the upgrades in between each run as well. And it just feeds in because after you've upgraded your character, then you feel like, well, maybe I should do another run, right? Because maybe I'll make it further with this new upgrade. So it's like a endless snowballing effect where you just want to play more and more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 100% what it is. It's like, "Oh, one more run, like, maybe I'll get a juice because like, I only need to give one more to someone and I get something," or like, "Oh, I just got a new weapon type that I wanna try out," or like, "Oh, I just discovered a new, like, boon or upgrade, and I think that would go really well with the bow. I haven't tried it with the bow yet." So, like,
Hmm.
there's always that, like, ooh, that itch to try something new, and each run really feels very, like, unique and distinct, even though you're going through, like, the same set 4 areas every time. And the other thing I think, like, a lot of the progression's woven in really naturally, like, I mean, I think this goes without saying, but we'll try, like, not to spoil too much, especially, like, story stuff and like those really big moments, but I think definitely they'll maybe like some jokes or some various things might come up, and yeah, there's like different aspects of some of the weapons that's important, but like a lot of them you get very naturally. Like they'll have certain conditions that need to be fulfilled before you'll get a certain dialogue that lets you do something new, or the game will like respond to you, but it's not on like the way it seems to work, at least, is it's not on like a set time. There haven't been many times I've done something that like people respond to it literally immediately. The game doesn't pause and then say like, "Oh, you've killed 30 people with the spear. Congratulations. Here's an upgrade for your spear." The game will know you've done that, and then it will like organically come up later when you're talking to someone or when you're doing some kind of like I guess like kind of half partially the sim section at your home. So it
Hmm.
feels very much like you're getting your own like intimate and organic experiences you're playing, because the game is weaving in these progression, these extra things you're getting as you go. It's not interrupting your game to like say you like checked boxes and things like that.
Yeah, and also it does the same thing with characters as well. Like the hub
Mhm.
world, I guess, where you do your upgrading and a lot of the talking is in the House of Hades, which is in, I guess, the depths of hell. And it's kind of like your home base, and then you do your runs throughout hell. But as you meet characters in the different sections and areas of the game, they begin to show up back at the house when you return there after your run. And so you
Mhm.
also have the same thing, not just your abilities and your weapons, but you also have, hey, I just met Thanatos in my run. That's his name, right? The god, the death
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. Yeah,
You
death.
met
Yeah.
him, and now occasionally he'll show up at the house, and then you can progress and get to know him better as well, just by having those conversations. And you never exactly know when you're going to run into someone new as well. I guess you get like a logbook which kind of keeps track of all the different enemies and NPCs and abilities and weapons and everything. But and you'll see like, oh, there's 3 lines with question marks, so I guess there's 3 more NPCs I haven't met. But it doesn't make it really obvious when you're going to meet them, and so it's kind of that excitement level of like, oh, I wonder what I have to do, or how long will it be till I find this next person.
Yeah, exactly, and it keeps making just very small, little incremental changes, like, you'll go on a run, and I think, like, like, certain not all the gods are available to you right away, like, you'll go on, a few runs before you unlock certain gods, and all of a sudden, you'll come across, like, "Oh, I have Ares now, and now I can hang out with him, like, he's new," and, like, you get, like, fishing later on, and then once you get fishing, the gods will, like, start commenting, like, "Oh, like, interesting, like, you know how to fish now," and, like, Poseidon's really hype about that because he's the fish guy, and, like
Yeah, that's one of the things I love is that they really it's so clear that they have. I think Supergiant's always been known for having some pretty good writing, and I think they really flex that, especially in Pyre, which you spoke about last time, but that's really carried over into Hades, and every god really has a very distinct personality. Like Dionysus is one of my favorite guys. He's just the god of wine, and he's
he's
always
such a
seeming like he's
bro.
drunk. He's like, oh, hey, Zag, what's up, dude? I can't wait to, meet you when you get up here. And he's just such a bro. Yeah. And then Poseidon's like very much like kind of
Simon's almost
similar
like
in the
the
same way.
wacky uncle, kind of.
Yeah, but they all have very distinct personalities, and what I love too is that they, as you play more of the game, you begin to realize like it's not just their relationship with Zagreus that they convey to you. They also begin to speak about each other in different ways. You know, about like you'll meet up with Zeus and he'll say, you know, oh, have you? I see you met Poseidon because you got one of his boons in a previous room, and like, oh, you know, like he's not always the kind of guy you expect, or like, they'll say something about another god, like as if they have their own kind of, you know, narrative interpersonally between each other, even if you weren't even part of the game. Like it's a living and breathing relationships that these gods seem
Yes.
to have.
Yes, absolutely. It feels so like I don't keep using the word natural, but it does. It's very natural, organic. And the other thing too is like they didn't need to include that, you know? Like a lot of roguelikes are very light on story. Like there's usually a lot of like, you know, like codexes you can read and like a little bit of
Lore
flavor
dumps, yeah.
text. Yeah, lore dumps and like some flavor text for things. But like story is usually one of the lighter parts of a roguelike, which makes sense because, you know, like it's hard to justify the gameplay loop of like, you know, completing a set run over and over again. But Hades, like, it excels at that in such a way that it justifies why you're doing these runs. And at first you have a specific reason. And then as you progress in the story, you kind of like that reason's fulfilled and you get another reason. And then, you know, there's even like another layer on top of that that develops afterwards, which I obviously won't spoil, but like they didn't need these types of games, like you know they're a game, you know that's like how they're supposed to work. You don't need to have like such strong and interesting or sometimes funny justification for it. And like every conversation you get is fully voice acted with amazing voice actors.
And
Like
great
there's
art too.
and
Great character
great
art.
art. There's so much diversity in the lines. Like I think I've played something like 30 hours in the game already.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah, I
played a
guess we should
lot.
say you've played a lot. I played about half of that, maybe about 15 hours
Yes.
myself. So I
I've
mean,
played a
a
lot
lot.
in a small period of time, and I've never once had anything repeated. Like, it is new dialogue every single time, and I will see some of these gods, like, multiple conversations in every run,
Hmm.
and there hasn't been a repeat at all. And they're constantly surprising me with new things, and they're talking about each other. They'll talk about, yeah, what you're doing. Like Hermes in particular is really funny. Like he's kind of
He
like
is
the
funny.
weird meta one, but like if your run, because it tells you like at the end like how long your run was, and you
Hmm.
get like lots of like lovely statistics about like all your past runs and things. But he'll like make a comment like if you're running really quickly or running really slowly, be like, oh wow, you're really taking your time this one, huh? And like
Yeah,
it's so like charming.
yeah, it really is. And I really like what you said too about having a story justification for multiple runs. Like I know you've beaten, I think you said 11 runs or something, right? You're apparently
Well,
like a
11,
savant.
11 was my last streak. I think
But
it's like
oh,
15 runs
well,
or
that's great.
something
Okay, I
like that.
just yeah. Well, I just beat my first run the other day. Actually, you were
You gotta
watching,
get
which
the
was pretty
death
cool.
defiances.
But
This is what you need. It's the
mhm,
secret sauce.
yeah, but just like getting to the end and completing my first run and kind of seeing like, okay, I beat the final boss, made it to the end, and then the way the story kind of justifies having to go back to the start and redoing it is, uh, I mean, I don't understand how they could have done it better, to be honest, because it
Mhm.
completely makes sense lore wise, as to why you'd need to. You mean he just escaped from hell, right? You shouldn't have to go back and do this again, but it makes sense. And it actually, like, now that I've beaten my first run, I was kind of worried I would kind of lose my interest in the game, because I know you do have to, I guess, beat 10 runs to get kind of like the true ending type of deal. And
Mhm.
so, I was worried I wouldn't be too motivated to get there after beating, my first run. But actually, story wise, now I'm even more invested, and I can't wait to go back and actually get to, my second, third, fourth, hopefully eventually 10th victory.
You'll make it. But yeah, it's interesting that first beating the run isn't like beating the game. It's like the game is now opening up. And
Hmm.
then you finish that 10th run and you know the game state changes again. And again it's like, you know, it's not an ending. It's opening up further again.
Yeah.
So
So
there's
where you're at
so
now?
much yeah, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna ask where you're at now. Do you still feel like the game opens up like every time you do something new? Because I know at the start, like especially where I am now, it seems like there's just always something new being added, whether it's a weapon or a way to evolve a certain weapon or a new kind of item you can get to give to a god or something. There's always something new. So like, does that continue up until where you are?
Absolutely. Like I think it definitely hits a point. Like there is a finite amount of stuff in the game. Like you will hit a point where
Oh, yeah.
you've been through the content, but it is still quite a ways away in the future. Like I recently just got like a new weapon thing that I hadn't had access to before, and I'm kind of at the point too now where because I've done so many runs, I'm kind of like at the point where I'm starting to get new stuff for characters. Like when you in that codex, you get and you can see there's like a tracker of how many hearts you have to fill in, and you fill in a heart every time you give them the juice.
Yeah, and there's a lot of hearts
So
on some of those characters too. Like even
yes,
just progressing one character's, storyline to the very end, I would imagine would take several runs just to get enough. And that's
yes,
only focusing on one character.
exactly. And it's not always that simple too. Like some of them have storylines that like intersect with each other. So it's not just that you have to give them juice, that you also have to like have done something with another character to like let them progress because they're intertwined in a way. So I'm kind of getting to the point now where like there isn't any one that I've actually finished, but I have some that are like right on the precipice of being done. And so that is opening up new things as well. And then also, like, I don't want to spoil it because I think it's really cool, but it's not really as much a story spoiler, but you get the option once you've beat it enough times to modify how the game runs. And I think that's
Oh, interesting.
fantastic. It's something that Supergiant does a lot. Like, they even had it originally in Bastion, where they were like I think they were different gods that you could pray to, and they would give you more rewards in some way, but they would make the game more difficult
Hmm.
in a specific aspect. So to be like, oh, you get more money, but like enemies do 25% more damage to you, something like that. Like it
Right.
was like a risk reward. And it was really good because you don't have to use them at all. You could play through the game and that's totally valid, but you could also tweak it if you wanted a slightly different experience. And so at some point you get the option. I won't it's weaved into the story. I won't tell you how or why, but you get the option to adjust difficulty for like a massive list of things. And like there's so many different like you can do it kind of almost like a meter system. You can do like something like I'm going to boost this like by 5 times. I'm going to boost this only once, or like I'll leave it totally alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that system is so smart and elegant to like give this game so much more longevity
Hmm.
because like you get so much better as you play. Like my first couple of runs, like I didn't fucking get to the final boss,
Oh
like
yeah,
no way.
same. I got
And then
owned by the first boss in my first couple runs, and then
yeah,
now like I have no trouble beating them whatsoever.
yeah, exactly. And then like, like you get to the final boss and it takes you a few times to beat them. But then it's like, well, I beat them relatively consistently now because like I've gotten so much better at the game and used to the weapons and like
And you've
smarter at
progressed your
picking.
character, and
Yeah, exactly. My character just has better stats, and I've kind of got familiar with what sort of like boons and upgrades are complementary and make smart builds. So the game has to keep up with you at your skill level because you don't want it to get too easy or to feel like there isn't that like tension, where like, ooh, do I save my money for like buying a good resource later? Like, do I buy these upgrades now? Like, there's no tension if you know that like the final boss is a chump and it's no big deal.
mm-hmm.
So this lets you adjust it and keep the game balanced at a difficulty that is appropriate for you specifically, not them guessing like where each player is going to end up after 10, 20 runs or whatever. So I like that a lot. It puts a lot of onus on the player to decide like how they want to play, which is great for accessibility, but it's also great like just if you want to challenge yourself or if you want to like specifically make something difficult and then try to build a character or a run around that difficulty.
Y-
Um
yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think that's just such a great example of like the game, like you said, accessibility. Like anyone can play this, and I think that, well, I mean, I guess not anyone can play it. It is quite challenging, at
mhm.
least to start, right? Once you kind of get your feet wet, and I think one of the biggest challenges I've had with it in general, or at least like in the start of the game, was it does have a lot going on the screen sometimes, which I think is like
Yes.
is not like a mechanical problem at all, but I do think like that out of anything, if I was to name one thing that I struggled with the most or had the most challenge to like getting used to playing this, is like just the amount of stuff that can be happening on the screen, because like there's oftentimes a lot of enemies happening. There's a lot of the arenas have traps, like different spikes or different statues that shoot arrows at you or whatever, and then that's also not including whatever boons and weapons you might have picked up for your run as well. So if you have something like the bow, which shoots multiple arrows, and then you have Zeus lightning coming down from the sky, and then you put down some of Ares's blade traps or whatever, you get like there's a lot going on, and it can be very overwhelming to look at visually. And I think like
Yeah.
that's like the hardest thing about the game, and that's like I guess a compliment to also the difficulty curve, because it's not even like a mechanic thing that's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. I had the same problem, and I think everyone will when they first play. Like, I don't want to say the game is cluttered because I think all the visual information is very well structured.
It
There's just
is.
a lot of it is
It
the thing.
is.
And like it's so cool when you get like yeah, you get like a different boon and it's like get like electricity on your attacks and like all your attacks chain lightning and so like the animation for your attack changes and now there's that lightning and like oh your dash does like a burst of hangover which is like my fucking favorite thing in the game
It's like
is that
poison from
it's
Dionysus.
poison, but it's Dionysus. Yeah, and because Dionysus is the god of wine, it's called hangover, which is hilarious. And so, like now, when you dash, you have this big, like beautiful, like wave of like purple liquid that comes out of you, and like they all look amazing. But yes, when there's 15 enemies on screen and like
And you're
there's a
getting
bunch of
shot at from
traps
all
going
directions.
off,
Yeah.
it is. But like and like my first couple runs, I just died to traps so
Oh,
much.
same
Like
with me. The traps kill you so fast.
yes, they were my absolute, like, nightmare, like, the enemies like, I wish I could have gotten a screen of, like, how much damage you took from things, because like, I swear to God, like, the traps were killing me more than the enemies were, but
Yeah.
then, like, after a few runs, your eyes climatize, and then you just sort of get used to looking at all of this, and now I hardly get hit by traps because, like, I'm better at being aware of them and seeing when they're going off, but, like, you sit someone down who hasn't played before, and it's like, "Holy shit, I don't know what's happening," like, you're just mashing buttons.
Yeah, I think to the viewer that hasn't played before or doesn't play a lot of games, this game would look like really crazy and overwhelming and hard to like understand in a way. For
Yeah.
but like you said, once you get to what you're looking at, it does become a lot easier.
Yeah, the game
Um
feels like it slows down a lot and you're a lot more in control as opposed to it being like a hectic bullet hell, which sometimes it
it
can
is
feel like
sometimes.
that.
Oh man, it is sometimes. Like especially with those little pink guys that shoot all the butterfly looking.
Oh god,
What are
the
they? I don't know
butterflies
what those are called. Those things suck.
awful.
So let's
But
get back to the builds, Kate. Unless you had
no,
another
yeah, back to the
little
builds is
piece,
good.
because I had this one I was telling you about the other day, which like just the way you pick a weapon. I guess there's 6 weapons when you begin your run. You get to pick from one of the 6. It's like sword, shield, gun, bow. There's a spear.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
and
different
fist.
ones, and so it's like and fists, and so you pick kind of your starting weapon, and then as you go, you'll acquire boons and kind of add on to that. And I had one where the fists are obviously like a really close range weapon. I was telling you about this the other day, and
Mhm.
you get this uppercut as your special move, and I had an augmentation on it where it knocked guys away from me. And then also I had another boon where when enemies were hit by it, after they moved around for a certain period of time, they would take damage. So I would just be constantly like doing a few hits on a guy, then knocking him away, and then he would die as he was moving back towards me. And then I also took a bunch of boons to increase my health, and after every room it would restore health. So I just ended up like basically knocking guys away from me and then running around and dashing and staying away from them and waiting for them to die over time. And it was just like a really cool way to play, because usually you're over there trying to just build as much damage as possible, and I found that was like really unique and quite successful.
Yeah, definitely, and I think, like, a testament to the game is, like, obviously, like, it's not 100% balanced, and, like, you can make an argument for certain things being better, and, like, certain combinations work better with different weapons, but, like, overall, I feel like everything is pretty valid, and, like, I'm never disappointed when I run into any of the gods because I like and there's a lot of value in all of them. Um,
Hmm.
my favorite one okay, I have Zeus and Poseidon in every single game. I don't know
Zeus is
why
crazy. Zeus
I
is
don't know
so
why.
good.
Yes, I love them both, but they show up every single time. Like the game says it's random, but it's not. Zeus and Poseidon are like my absolute homies.
Yeah.
But my very favorite thing, I love the bow. Of course, I will always gravitate towards a bow weapon. And there's one thing you can take in with you. You get like trinkets, and they'll kind of give you like a passive buff. And I have one that is you do more damage to something far away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had that on one of the runs with Poseidon who'd had like the knockback. So I would just like have the bow from such long range and anytime anything got close, they would get knocked away. And so it had the same kind of thing you were doing, but I was just like it was with the bow, so, like, I was always procking that, like, long range shot,
Mhm.
which was super nice. The other one that's crazy good, and I think it's like a speed running one too, just because it makes so much sense. But it's like you get the gun because it shoots so fast and so many little
Yeah.
shots,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you put chain lightning on that. So every
Right.
attack like chains a Zeus lightning to all the enemies, and you just like you can clear rooms so fast.
Yeah, it's some of the combinations and that's the thing about the game too is like you'll go on a run and you'll have this insane combination and you'll say like, oh shit, like I have to win this run because like I'm never gonna have this much power again. And then you get into your next run, and by the time you've acquired, you know, 2, 3, 4 boons, you're like, oh my god, this is even better than what I had the last time. And it just seems like you said, everything just synergizes so well,
Yes.
and it seems like you almost can't for the most part make a mistake. You know, like maybe if you're building for a lot of close range combat, you don't want to take the knockback kind of stuff. But I mean, that's so specific, right? Like 90% of them, I feel, just work and synergize pretty
Yeah.
much
And
exactly
and the
perfectly.
other thing too is like everything's like viable at least to a degree where it's like it'll come down to how you're playing, right? Like there's I had a run like I lost my streak last night. I was very disappointed
Oh.
about it. And I had like not a great build. I was kind of trying to get something unusual that I hadn't had before just to sort of like, fill out the checklist of all the different boons that I've gotten.
Hmm.
So I was kind of going for something a little bit suboptimal and like trying to chance getting something a bit rare. M- And I lost. And I can't even blame it on that. Like it was fine. I very easily could have won. It like it never feels like it's impeding or ahead of like your personal skill. But they do definitely, like, on the flip side, still make you feel very powerful at times.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And you know, that's the other thing too is like you'll have a combination. Like I had this one where you can throw your shield like Captain America, and that's like the
Mhm.
shield is my favorite weapon, but you can augment it where the
Yep,
shield
the cap
becomes
shield.
like not the cap shield, it's the one where it becomes like one giant flying disc. That's the one that I
Oh, yeah,
had.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it just kind of hovers in place and does like a shitload of damage to anyone that touches it, but it doesn't move around too quick. And I had that
Mhm.
one, and it whenever you're fighting like a stationary enemy, like like a big boss, like there's a boss in the game, one of the bosses doesn't really move around too much, and it just hovers over top and does like crazy damage. So it's really strong in that way. But then I found that when I was facing some smaller enemies, or there's some other enemies where there's like two enemies at once and they're quite tough and they move around a lot. I think people who played this probably know which one I'm talking about as far as a boss, but like that against that boss, my weapon was like really ineffective. So it is balanced in that way too, because even if you get something that's really strong in a certain situation, it might be weaker in another, which I think is like another balancing factor also, obviously, because you can't like optimize for every situation.
Yeah, absolutely, and, like, some things, like, very good against, like, a single target, like, very good for bosses, but then they're not great in a room full of 15 enemies that you're fighting simultaneously, like,
Yeah.
there's, like, the AoE versus single target, and there's just there's so much. I love this game, and
Me too. I gotta
the
play
other
some more.
I know. The other thing I gotta shout out to the game is that it is surprisingly hilarious. This game has made me laugh so many times. Like, Zag, the main character, he'll just comment on various things, and also, like, there's the classic super giant narrator,
Yeah.
and, like, some of the back and forth the narrator and Zagreus have together is genuinely so funny,
Yeah,
and, like,
I've had some times when I've laughed as well, but I think like I don't know, maybe I gotta get further and see some more.
There it's just, like it's a lot of small details and, like, if you, like, investigate something, they'll make, like, kind of a sarcastic comment or, like, a pun off of it or something, and the one that cracks me up, and this is, like, I guess maybe a teeny tiny minor spoiler, but I think it sticks out in my mind on and as such a good moment, like, you walk in and one of the enemies you fight is, it's like a hydra, and it's the Lernarian Hydra,
Hmm.
and so Zag walks in one time, and he often's making, like, sarcastic comments, he's very quippy,
Very dry
and he make
humor kind of guy.
yeah, and he makes a joke one time when you run into him and you're like, "Oh, hey, Lerny," like, shortens his name to Lerny for a second, and then from that point on, every single time you fight him in your subsequent runs, his health bar, his name has now been replaced with Lerny. Like,
Wow,
it
really?
actually changes the, like, what do you call
Like
the
the display of that character, right? Like when their
Yes,
name pops up,
exactly,
yeah.
yeah, it changes, like, the actual display and, like, your HUD to being, like, this dumb joke that the game just made for you.
I think that's like a
And, like
great way to summarize the game. It's just like the attention to detail is
yes.
so unique. Like even something as small as picking up one boon just adds this little bit of detail to your attack, or like that little bit of writing, the name changing. It's just like there's no little cracks in the polish of this game that I can really see.
Yes,
And like that is
absolutely.
that's such a good reason that this game is getting the praise it's getting, on top of being so much fun, right?
Yeah, exactly, like, I think it's those little details that help it have so much longevity, like I said before, like, the combat sells it on itself. It is so fun, every weapon feels fantastic, it has so much replayability just in terms of, like, the actual moment-to-moment gameplay, like
Hmm.
and I think that's, like, what people are gonna that originally come to the game for, but I think those little subtle details are so important for making the game, like, long-lasting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what's going to keep you coming back, right? And I think that's like, I want to compare this to the other kind of game I played similar to this the most is Enter the Gungeon, and I mean I played that one a lot too, and the gameplay was, I mean, I would say is probably just as fun as Hades, but the thing it lacks is it doesn't have the extra, the story stuff, everything we've talked about on this episode. It really lacks like that kind of thing. It doesn't have any narration really. It doesn't have like the characters don't talk to each other. There's not a lot of NPCs. This is just like an evolution on what that was. And I mean, right now it's like the gold standard of this genre.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say a lot of people would probably have that opinion now, which is great because we want things to get better and better, right?
Mhm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. After playing this game for 30 hours, my biggest takeaway is, "Holy shit, The Last of Us 2 better be good because this didn't win Game of the Year."
You got to get to it. You got to get to it.
Yeah,
Um,
eventually, gotta turn on a few more generators first.
Damn right. We'll get that generator count out to everyone maybe next time you play. But I guess that'll wrap us up on Hades. Hey, Kate, any final thoughts before we transition over to the
Just
news?
if you're on the fence, you haven't played this game yet, just pick it up. Like, Supergiant is just, like and for such a small indie studio, they're, like, the pinnacle of, like, quality. Just play this game.
Yeah, play it.
Give Deuce a juice, like, just play this game.
Give Deuce the Juica and move on,
Give
okay?
the Deuce a the juice.
All right, everyone. I guess we will take a short break, and we'll be right back to discuss the PS Plus games of the month for January and a little bit other news as well. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a sec. All right, everyone, welcome back. We are here for the second section of the show, which, of course, is always the news section, where, you know what, Kate, we got to do some PS Plus game selection once again because it is a new month. It's January, and we got PS Plus game announcements. So for PS Plus January 2021, we have a selection of Maneater, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and Greedfall. So as we always do, we will each pick one of these to report back on for next episode, and let you guys know what we think. So Kate, what are you feeling?
Well, I've heard a little spoiler that you've already started one of these games.
I did. I took a chance, and I just thought between the three games you would pick one of the other two. So, yeah, I had a morbid curiosity about Maneater. Started it up last night. Initial impression is the controls are really weird, but the game is kind of interesting. So I'll talk more about it next episode. But I'd like Maneater if you don't have a strong inkling for that, which I'm assuming you don't.
Well, you were lucky this month. I don't. I kind of debated between the other two. Tomb Raider is such a like well-known series that I've never actually picked up or played. Um, but I ended up I thinking I will go with Greedfall. I think Tomb Raider is kind of like a safe bet. Like you sort of know what you're getting into, and I know that you reviewed a Tomb Raider for our PS Plus segment one
Yeah, a
month.
few months ago.
So I figured I'd go with something different. Greedfall looks kind of interesting. Um, it's a genre that appeals to me to some degree. Like it kind of looks like an open world kind of like immersive story RPG, which could be good. I've never heard of it, which I don't know if that's
It's
concerning or
surprising.
not.
Maybe it's a
It could
good
be
thing. You never
it
know.
could be a hidden gem,
Try
absolutely.
something
So,
new. Yeah, that's what I'm
yeah,
hoping for Maneater. Also, I just want to embrace the Shark Week and go eat some people and level up my shark and kill some boats. That sounds kind of fun.
yeah, you're a simple man.
Yeah, simple man of simple tastes.
Yeah, Griefball doesn't look quite so simple. It's the kind of game that, like, you're either gonna get immersed and sink like 60 plus hours in, or it's not really gonna stick. But I will definitely give it a shot, and we'll see if it can compete with Hades for my time.
Yeah, we'll see. One thing I do like is they seem to be doing like the 3 PS Plus games consistently now, every month, which is nice for us. I guess we get more variety and more choice, but also obviously like just more free stuff in general is really positive. So I hope this continues and PS5 games continue to be included. Which I mean, why would they not, right?
Yeah, I hope this isn't just like a promotional like PS5 thing, like get an extra 5 game for now, and that's kind of like buffs the console launch a little bit, but at the same time, like, it would just be kind of nice to have that going forward, but we'll see. Even if they just do it every now and again as like a nice treat.
Yeah, let's hope. We like treats. We'll move to our second story, though, Kate, now that we've got that sorted out, which is from gamesindustry.biz. They're reporting the PS4 Pro and most other models are being discontinued in Japan. I think the only one they are keeping around to manufacture over there is one of the 500 gig slim models. So just more confirmation, I guess, that I mean, we all know the manufacturing woes right now of the PS5. It's so hard to come by. And I guess by eliminating manufacturing on PS4, I guess maybe they're going to be using some of those resources to hopefully mitigate the difficulty of finding a PS5 right now. So I hope that's like the silver lining of this. But it's a little surprising to see manufacturing stopping in Japan so early. Like the PS5 is like pretty much brand new still. And the PS4 is still, I think, selling pretty well. So a little surprising.
Yeah, it is a shame. I feel like while this article doesn't like, specifically call it out, it definitely seems like it is pandemic related. Like they've had such a struggle producing and getting the fives out to everyone who's trying to buy them. Like I know it's been a few months now, and some people are still just like having the worst time
Oh, yeah, I mean, you
trying
can't
to.
find them anywhere.
Yeah, like they're so scarce, and so I guess prioritizing making sure that that's the forefront of what they're selling, it makes sense. Um, I guess a lot of people buying a PS4 like will have the option to buy used, and I know that's not quite as enticing sometimes, but like there's still
It's an
that
option, though.
option.
Hmm.
Whereas yeah, the PS5 is like, well, I mean, either get one or you don't, or you sell your soul online to some asshole
So, yeah,
that's selling it for
1,500 bucks. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I know they've committed. Like Jim Ryan, I think, was quoted saying they're going to be, releasing a lot of stuff still on PS4 up until 2022. So, I guess that doesn't mean necessarily the production will continue until 2022 on the consoles, though. I know they haven't reported I think they're still manufacturing them in North America and in Europe right now. So, just wonder how long that's going to continue for after this
Mhm.
announcement out of Japan. But
Well,
I
I
guess,
hope
yeah.
I hope they give it a good longevity, right? Like, a
Hmm.
lot of people don't upgrade right away, and there's a lot of benefit in not upgrading right away because there's such a huge library on the PS4. Like, it's been around for so long. Like, it's still a great platform to experience games on, and like
Well,
it always feels really bad when you lose the support, and you're kind of like you feel like you're forced to upgrade instead of it being something
hmm,
that you
hmm.
want to do or that you're choosing to do. So.
Yeah, and there was a report that just came out actually while we're recording that God of War is reportedly on PS4 as well. Ragnarok, I'm talking. So I mean, that's not a
Oh, okay,
surprise,
interesting. Mhm.
really. So I mean, I think what are we at, like 115 million PS4s that have been sold so far. So even if they stop making them, like there's still such a huge install base that the games I think will still be multi platform for the most part up until then. So at least that's good
Mhm.
news for like current PS4 owners. But let's just hope that there's no murky there's what would be the really bad situation, I guess, would be if PS4s also became hard to get certain models, and then you still couldn't get a PS5, and the people that want to jump in but can't really get either. That would be like a huge nightmare. But hopefully
Right?
they can sort out stock for at least one of them being
Yeah,
available.
exactly. I don't think Ragnarok's gonna come out on PS3, so hopefully you can hopefully you can snag something
Hey,
before
that
then.
would be a crazy prediction for the next segment, though. Hey.
Why just give me a minute, I gotta rewrite something.
All right, Kate. Well, without any further ado, let's take one last break here, and we'll move into our last segment of the show, which will be our 2021 predictions for PlayStation and video games. So hang on, guys. We'll be right back, and we'll get into our predictions. All right, everyone, welcome back to the third and final segment of the show, where in true podcast form, we will be making some 2021 predictions for video games. So back on episode 4, we actually did our 2020 predictions. We started the show partway through last year, so we won't be recapping those predictions because we actually recapped our 2020 predictions back on episode 17. So if you're really interested, you're a hardcore Circles and Squares fan, go back and check those out. So I guess we'll just jump right into our 2021 predictions. A little bit of the lay of the land here. We are both going to be doing 5 predictions for the upcoming year of video games, which I guess, to be really clear on the rules, runs from now until December 31st, 2021. So it has to happen between those parameters. And I think we've got a little bit of a bet between the two of us as what the winner will get, Kate.
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of tallied it up when we went through on episode 17 of our, our predictions that we made, and we're kind of flexible about it. We gave some half points and some full points depending on how accurate or to what exact detail we got. And I think it was close. It actually came down to a tie that you won, because I think we decided it was more fair since I had one that was pretty
Was a
like
gimme? Yeah.
was pretty safe. So we're going to take it a little more seriously this time, because now we've got something on the line. We've decided that whoever bets or predicts more accurately and more interestingly is going to be able to have the other person play any game that they so choose. It will be, I decree you must play X, and X shall be played.
Yep. So it'll be, I think the person has to play the game in 2022.
Yes.
Will be whatever the person picks. You have no choice. You got to play it at some point throughout the year. So
and you got to play it maybe not to completion depending on how long it is, but there's going to be some parameters. You got to really sit down and play it. You can't just yeah, I did 2 hours. Here's my first impression. It was okay.
Yeah, you got to give it the old college try, and we'll leave it at that. Maybe we'll do that.
We'll be good sports about it for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Kate, I guess we'll start it off. What would be your first prediction?
Okay, I'm going to start it off with nothing too crazy yet. But I've got one, and I was kind of looking into this just partially for my own interest, and then it sort of got me thinking. But I don't think that Animal Crossing has any direct competition. I don't think anyone's made a game that quite captures what Animal Crossing brings to the table. And so I think with the success of Animal Crossing last year, and how so many more people were like a new audience for the game, I think we're gonna finally get a game that does the life sim in a way that Animal Crossing does it, and will actually topple them. Because while I think Animal Crossing is wonderful, it has a lot of issues,
Mm-hmm.
and Nintendo doesn't seem to really want to address the concerns or the desires of some people, with a proper multiplayer and being able to have multiple people living on one island. It's kind of bare bones with some of those features. So I think we're going to get an actual Animal Crossing competitor that is going to topple Animal Crossing and dig them straight into a grave full of rent and debt. And
nice.
Even Tom Nook can't save them.
Wow. Is this going to be like a PlayStation game, or do you have any details about it? Or is just going to be an Animal Crossing competitor will exist?
I think it's going to come across cross-platform. I think ideally it's cross-platform, and you can play with friends on different systems would be the best way to integrate something like this.
That's awesome. And so you're not talking like Stardew Valley, you're talking a more of a AAA kind of experience.
Yeah, it might be an indie developer, but I think Stardew Valley it's similar in some ways, but it doesn't have the same kind of feeling as Animal Crossing. It's got a bit more of the I guess Animal Crossing has a lot of crafting now, but it's a bit more mechanical than something like Animal Crossing, which is a lot more relaxed, and it's more about just kind of escapism more than gameplay.
I see. Okay, I like that prediction. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So my first prediction is going to be one. So let's back up here. So you were talking before about Ghost of Tsushima Legends last episode, and just how
Mhm.
awesome that game is, and how it's a tacked on multiplayer mode to something that really didn't even need a multiplayer mode.
Mhm.
And people love it, right? People like I personally love Ghost of Tsushima. Legends might be my favorite part of that game. And so The Last of Us, the original, had something called Last of Us Factions, which was another online mode. I think people liked it, but it definitely didn't get like a lot of publicity, or at
Mhm.
least the like in the mainstream I'm talking. So my prediction, my first one, is going to be that The Last of Us Part 2 will also get a multiplayer mode. And they're going to do a lot more marketing on this one this time, just because of the how much more in the public sphere The Last of Us is. And for that reason, I'm going to predict that The Last of Us multiplayer mode will be revealed, and that it will also be one of the nominees for best multiplayer game at the Game Awards next at the end of this year.
Interesting. I like that you've got kind of a two-part to that.
Well, yeah, I'm setting myself up for a half point.
That's right.
Uh, we'll see.
Oh, I see the strategic extra detail.
We'll see. But yeah, I mean, I really
Okay.
believe that they could do this, and the pedigree of Naughty Dog is obviously just as high as any studio Sony has. So there's no reason they shouldn't be able to put this together. Just a question if they do it. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, interesting. I like it. I like it. Okay, we'll move on to my next one. I think this is like my safest prediction, but it's so big. And I think like Epic Games is really gonna continue to it's already blowing up, but I think it's gonna continue to blow up in 2021.
Hmm.
Like it's just such a huge platform now, and
Are
even
you
like
sorry? Are you talking the Epic Games Store, or like Epic in
the
general, like the company?
I think both. Like Epic Games Store is obviously like a huge part of that, but Epic is massive, right? Like them having Fortnite, and like they're putting on concerts in Fortnite, and like movie trailers are being revealed there. Like it's just such a massive cultural thing now on top of just being like a game service. So I think they're gonna blow up. They're gonna get their app they've been trying to put out for a while. They're gonna finally have like a phone app
Oh wow, I hope
to
so.
use with Epic, because like that's been coming for so long. But I think we're also gonna see a lot more like timed exclusives
Okay.
coming to Epic Store, like really sort of like pushing against Steam a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I was thinking, and obviously not to try and get a bullshit half point, because I would never be so diabolical. But I was thinking like, okay, like what's gonna be a really big timed exclusive then that's gonna come? And so I put my money on the new Resident Evil game.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I
You're
think
talking
Resident Evil,
PC
yeah.
exclusivity. Okay.
So it's coming out on consoles as well, but I think Resident Evil is gonna have like, be, like, one of the big games to come out and have exclusivity on Epic before it comes to Steam.
Okay. Okay. I like that actually. That's why not?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, my next prediction, number two, is probably my most negative prediction. So, COVID, a lot of delays going on, a lot of games getting pushed. This
Mhm.
I was originally going to predict Horizon Forbidden West getting delayed to 2022, but that
Mhm.
just seems like such a gimme. And then I thought, well, how can I make this a little bit more difficult for myself to get? So I'm going to predict, and you let me know if you think this is too easy.
Okay.
I'm going to predict that not only will Horizon Forbidden West get delayed till 2022, but so will God of War Ragnarok.
Ah, you know what? I think I will leave it to you. I think it counts, but, like, maybe it doesn't count. If we tie, maybe this is the kicker for
Yeah, well,
me.
I was going to suggest, if you thought it was too easy, I would say that I don't get a half point if I can put it like a note that I don't get a half point if one's delayed. I have to get both. Like it's all or nothing.
Okay, I like that. It's an all or nothing. I'm going all in. I like it.
Okay, I'll put that in my notes right now.
Okay. And you know what? I will continue on that. That kind of fits into my next prediction, because I agree with you. And some of that is basically the reasoning for my next prediction is I think an indie game will win game of the year.
Oh, I like that prediction.
I think this was set up with Hades coming so close. And unfortunately, I don't know if there's like I don't know which game it will be. Like Silk Song is one that comes to mind because it's such a highly anticipated, big profile indie game. In the same kind of way that like Will the Wisp and Hades were this year. But I think I think just in the year in general, indie games are going to dominate because we don't have a lot of big AAA releases coming out. And I think a lot of the ones like you said, Horizon and God of War, are likely going to be pushed back and delayed. And like with Cyberpunk being such an absolute mess right now, I
Hmm.
think we're gonna be seeing a lot of like it's gonna be a really good year for indie games, like some like Silksong and things we know are coming, but then also games that maybe people have been developing kind of quietly while they've had, been laid off or had more time during
Yeah, yeah,
COVID. I think
yeah.
we're gonna see like a lot of indie games get some spotlight. And with Hades coming so close, I think it sort of opened the floodgates even more for people paying attention to indie devs. So
That's
I
a good one. Wow.
yeah, it's kind of like that negative, but then a positive spin on it is maybe it's good for,
Mm.
maybe the smaller companies, have a bit more of a chance this year.
Okay. Yeah, I see. You know what I see being the issue with that one in terms of you winning it is I feel like Nintendo is going to have like a banger year in terms of releasing a
Yeah.
lot of games.
Well, Breath of the
But
Wild 2 is supposed to come out, and I think that's the biggest issue I'm gonna come up against, but
yeah,
I'm gonna bank on that, like, Breath of the Wild 1 was so good, and 2 maybe doesn't add as much, so it's not as exciting, or I don't know,
right,
we'll
right, right.
see. Halo
Okay.
Infinite's also coming out, but, like,
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't see that as
apparently
game of yeah, I don't see that as game of the year, so
we'll see. Either way, that's a I like that one a lot. I've said that about every prediction so far, but like I take it back. That's my favorite so far.
Thank
Um,
you.
anyways, my next prediction number 3 is that we're going to see another PS4 game announced for PC.
Okay,
As we had Horizon last year.
right.
And I was thinking like, okay, what kind of game would this be, right? Because Horizon was from 2017, and so that was 3 years it took to get onto PC. And I guess
Okay.
that's like the length of time that Sony's comfortable like having console exclusivity before putting it on the PC. So originally I was going to say it would be God of War coming to PC, but I actually
Okay.
changed it this morning because I just felt like because God of War's from 2018, right? So that would be the same
Mhm.
3 year
Right.
period. But I felt like Kratos is just so synonymous with PlayStation. Like I would argue he's probably the mascot at this point.
Right. He's
And
like,
so
yeah, their
yeah,
biggest character and such a like predominant IP, whereas
yeah,
Horizon was something new.
yeah. So I kind of went off of that because I thought they might want to keep him like tied completely to the PlayStation.
Mhm.
So I actually changed it. I'm gonna predict that Bloodborne will come to PC this year.
Oh,
Um,
well,
yeah, yeah.
join
Because
join the Reddit because 'cause they've been calling that for years and it has not happened.
Right. Well, I'm calling it this year because first of all, it's an older game. It's from 2015, so it's not like it's the brand new hypeness at this point, right? So they might jazz it up in terms of like a 4K remaster or something. Who knows? But I think there's a lot of hype right now around Soulsborne games, especially with Demon Souls coming out, and like there's the Elden Ring hype for whenever we ever hear anything about that again. So there's just a lot of
Yeah.
Souls hype right now. These games seem to be getting more and more popular. So perfect time to put Bloodborne on PC. Uh,
Well,
yeah, I'm
I
not going to
I
predict Epic exclusivity or anything, but it'll be on there somehow.
right. Well, I hope you're right, and I am saying it right now that I will give you double points if it's included an extra mode for Bloodborne Kart, the fabled the fabled internet's infamous Bloodborne racing game.
Okay, well, I'm writing that in my notes too. If Bloodborne
Yeah.
Kart comes out, double points.
Double points for Bloodborne Kart, and, like, fuck it, you just win if Bloodborne Kart comes out, I'll be so happy. Well, that is fantastic, and speaking of dumb predictions, I will go into my dumbest, but one of my
Yeah, that
favorite
wasn't a
predictions.
dumb prediction.
Well, no,
Well,
Bloodborne Kart's
Mario
a dumb
Kart, I guess.
prediction.
Mario Kart, yeah.
Yeah, the card is dumb. Your other thing is
Okay.
good. But I've got a this is my dumb meme prediction, but 2021 is a big anniversary for many games and many series, one of which is best game ever made according to to certain people 10 years ago. We have the Skyrim 10th year anniversary. So, Skyrim has been released, as we know, many, many times.
I think I played Skyrim on my toothbrush last week. I don't remember.
Exactly. It's on your smart fridge, on your coffee maker, when you're getting ready in the morning. But the only place it isn't is the Vita.
Oh my god.
So, Skyrim coming to Vita, and then I wrote after that, "That's really dumb, that's never happening." So, instead of the Vita, it's gonna get a better re-release for PS5 with, like, updated graphics and stuff. Because I
Okay.
don't think it has that on Xbox, but it doesn't have it on PlayStation. So, for 10th year
Hmm.
anniversary, we're gonna get, like, whatever, something in the Elder Scrolls Online, but also we're
Could you
gonna get an update for PS5 and maybe the Vita.
could you imagine Bethesda comes on out, has like a big press conference? That's interesting prediction too, because they now are owned by Microsoft.
Yes.
So
Yes, they
that's a
are.
really spicy prediction. Could you imagine though, they come out the big Bethesda press conference, or I guess maybe the Xbox press conference, and there's this big lead up.
Mhm.
Bethesda comes up, people are like, "Oh shit, is this Elder Scrolls 6? Oh my god, is it Starfield? No, it's a Skyrim port to PlayStation 5."
Another Skyrim port. The, like, Dovahkiin music starts.
Holy, that would be
I
like
mean,
such a crazy
they've
crazy
milked it
time.
they've milked it so much, and now it's 10 years, like, there's gonna be some kind of anniversary edition, like, it's happening. Who's gonna buy it? Who doesn't own it already? I don't know, but it's happening.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but you know, maybe. Okay, so I'm gonna go with my fourth prediction, which is probably my funnest one that I have
Okay.
on here. We love Astrobot on this here podcast.
We do.
We do,
Our
and now
official, unofficial mascot.
it's true, Astrobot. So we love Astrobot. We love you know, cute little characters like that. So I'm not predicting that we're gonna have a full Astrobot game released this year, because I think that in my mind, like they probably saw the success of Astrobot on PS5, and they're like, okay, we got to make a full version game of this, but it's not going to be ready for 2021. I wouldn't expect. So to hold people over and satiate them on Astrobot and get them ready for the hypeness, which is Astro's full game in probably 2022 or 2023, I'm going to predict that, similar to the Mario Kart Home thing that they announced for Nintendo, you know, that physical like Mario Kart racing thing you can get for your house.
Oh, yeah, that was kinda neat.
Yeah, I'm gonna predict that they have some kind of Astrobot physical toy coming out this Christmas in 2021. So I've got two little variations here, what they could be. I thought maybe it could be like a Lego set of some kind, or it could be one of those programmable type of robots you could sit on your desk, and maybe like it would record or speak to you, or have one of those like they have those robot dogs back in the day you can like train to
Right.
do tricks. Like maybe it could be some kind of Astrobot version of that. I think that'd
You
be
know
pretty
what?
cool.
I really like this. I think this is fantastic. I hope it happens, and we need to get one for, like, the studio.
Oh,
But
100%.
you know what I'm picturing, and it's really funny, is you remember those things that, like, I'm pretty sure we had, like, Bugs Life ones or something really stupid, but they were, like, you'd put them in front of, like, a door, and then they would have, like, a little,
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
sensor, and
Hey,
if
who's
anyone
going
walked
there?
by, like, "Yeah, hey, who is that?" So, like, even Astrobot, like, little house guard.
That would be great, right? Just something like that. Like some physical
Yeah.
Astrobot toy of some kind that's like got some kind of, maybe it's got an app that controls it, or whatever it is. I won't add too many details, but there'll be like a physical Astrobot
Right.
something for this
Okay.
Christmas.
I really like that. That's my favorite prediction so far. Um, but I'm gonna have to top it. This is my final prediction. I've obviously saved the best for last. Um, and like I said, you know, anniversaries are big this year. Skyrim's 10 years old. Donkey Kong is 40 years old. The Legend
Holy
of
shit.
Zelda, right? The
Donkey
Legend of
Kong's looking good
Zelda.
for 40.
He's not even like what's the old one?
Like how long do
Not
gorillas
Cranky
live
Kong.
for?
I don't know, man. Diddy's still a teen, so there's some weird stuff going on. But anyway, Legend of Zelda is 35 years old this year. Halo is 20 years old. But do you know what the most important best anniversary is? The Persona series is 25 years old
Oh
in
my god.
2021. And I think what is more appropriate than revealing, it's not going to come out, but we are going to get a reveal and an announcement of Persona 6.
Oh my
And
god.
to make this a little spicier, I'm going to predict what color it will be, because
Yes, because
each
they all have a
persona
color theme.
has a color theme, right? Like the first one is like white gray, P2 is red black, um, P3 is blue, Persona 4 is yellow, and Persona 5 went back to the red black. But I think Persona 6 is going to go in a new direction, and it's going to be purple. Purple is a stylish color. It hasn't been done before. And we're going to get a beautiful animated P6 purple trailer.
I will cry with happy tears if you're right about this one. I'll tell you, it's a matter of when, not if, for Persona 6, obviously at this
Yeah,
point. So I hope you're right though, because I want to play that as soon as possible.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's going to be purple. Purple's the key
Okay,
element here. I think
cool.
that's what my thing goes on. 'Cause P6 it's happening no matter what, but a purple 6 is, that's
Yeah.
the key detail in this guess.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe not quite as hype as yours, depending who you ask. But my last prediction is going to be that of a studio acquisition for Sony. Just because we have, Microsoft just bought Bethesda. Nintendo actually just bought Next Level, which was a bit of a formality considering Next Level like only makes Nintendo games and whatever. So,
Mhm.
similar to the Next Level theory, I'm going to predict that Sony will officially buy Bluepoint. Which is like the remake studio they've been working with for a while. Bluepoint, of course, with the Demon Souls remake on PS5, which is exclusive. They did the Shadow of Colossus remake, which was PlayStation exclusive. They also did the Nathan Drake collection, Gravity Rush remastered, also PlayStation exclusives.
Yes, they've
Um,
been working, like, very directly with them
yeah,
for quite some time.
exactly. The last game they made that was not PlayStation was back in 2014. They did a Titanfall port to the Xbox because it was originally only PC.
Okay.
So I mean, if you discredit that one, they haven't worked with another company since 2011, which was another Xbox port. So what I'm trying to say is basically this is, for all intents and purposes, a PlayStation studio already at this point. So I think it's sometime this year it'll be made official, and Sony will buy Bluepoint.
Right.
What they'll remake next? I predicted Siphon Filter, I think, last time, so I was wrong
Mhm.
about that, and it was Demon Souls. Maybe they're working on Siphon Filter now, and that'll be their first announcement for their first game as an official PlayStation studio. That's not
Okay,
part of
so
my prediction. It's
I was
just
gonna say, or can we
yeah.
hold you to that
No,
part?
no, no, no. I'm spitballing, but I predict that Sony will buy Blue Points. So
Okay.
yeah,
I
maybe
mean,
I should put
I
that one earlier. I feel like that's pretty maybe an
yeah,
obvious one, but
I feel like I've definitely seen that on the internet, whether that's, like, rumors or whatever, but I think it's definitely people have noticed at the very least. But
hmm.
I think that that's great, like, I mean, they're doing great work. There's tons of other games that would be exciting to remaster, so
Yeah. Well, we'll.
I'm
I
all
mean,
for
yeah,
it.
Sony's got a good get back catalog. Like Bluepoint could do a lot of good work as a remaster studio, like in house for
Mhm.
PlayStation Studios. So let's hope it comes true. And I guess that'll do it for our predictions. Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see how the year goes, and at the end of the year we'll go through and see how we did. I think some are definitely key winners, and some maybe are a little more imaginative.
I think we got a good mix though. Like good variety.
Yeah,
I like
you
it. I like it.
don't too safe.
Yeah, exactly. Well, since our predictions are done, Kate, it is time for listener mail. What is our question for the week?
I say we've got an interesting question this week. I feel like it's one of those topics that has some quick easy answers, but also is kind of something you could ruminate on for a little bit. But our question today is, what is the most inconvenient part of being a gamer?
Whew, being a gamer. First
Like
of all, like,
being an epic gamer like us.
yeah, I gotta say, first of all, like, I just don't like the word gamer. So, I mean, but
Right? It's almost like I almost feel like a little cringy, like, you're like, "Ooh, yeah, I'm such a gamer," but it's like,
yeah,
well, I guess technically, but it just seems like a weird
yeah. I feel like one of
thing
the
to
worst
say.
parts of being a gamer is actually being called a gamer.
Right.
So,
That's the most inconvenient part for you.
yeah, so I don't know if that's my answer. I mean, I looked at this question and I was thinking, well, games are expensive, so it's inconvenient to have an expensive hobby. But
Yes.
so are a lot of other hobbies. That's kind of a not an unimaginative answer. I'm gonna go with with something that I'm finding kind of funny, which is just that like my TV doesn't have enough fucking HDMI ports. I have so many
That is such
systems.
a that's such a first world problem.
I have so many systems I want to plug in, and my TV only has 3 HDMI ports. So, I mean, what do, right? I got one of those annoying splitters at the back. I got to reach behind my TV, press the button to
Ugh,
like change which one. It's such a pain in the ass. And like, could I put my PS3 away at this point? Probably, but do I want to? Not really, because I like to display my systems. So, yeah,
I mean, you
just give
could
me a.
just unplug it, just maybe don't have that using one of the
I
HDMI
know.
ports.
Well, it's not that it's using it. It's just that occasionally, when once a year, I want to go
Yes.
back and play something on my PS3. I gotta pull my TV out, and that's inconvenient, man. So let me tell you,
Yeah,
just give me a
absolutely.
TV with like 10 HDMI ports, and I'm good. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I have one like a couple things are always set, right? Like this is the PlayStation, this is
Yeah.
this. But my Switch is the rotating one because it's like in a convenient spot, right? You need the dock
Mm-hmm.
like in like
Mm-hmm.
a very nice hands-on. So that's the rotating like HDMI 3. The Switch is also like six different things depending on what I need it to be.
Yeah. Well.
So yeah, you just kind of relegate one to like, yeah, you're the swap.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So my real answer,
um
I'd probably be the price, but my true answer is the just give me the HDMI ports.
I like it. I like it. I think yeah, HDMI ports is fantastic. I think the price is obviously like a big one, and the other like big elephant in the room right now is like we can't get a console.
Well,
That is
yeah.
inconvenient. Um, my one I would say I'm kind of torn between like probably the one that affects me more often is time constraints.
Mm-hmm.
I find like I always have such a massive backlog of things I want to play because I just don't have the time in my day to get through as many games as I'd like to. And then also like some games are just such massive time commitments.
Yeah, so it's like a double whammy. If you're playing a long game and you don't have a lot of gaming time in your week, then
Yes,
I mean, it's going to take you forever to finish things.
exactly, and I'm the kind of person too where, like, especially if it's a story-driven game, I only like to have one at a time because I find it, like, hard to be as invested when I'm bouncing back between multiple things, but then I'll be partway through a game I'm really enjoying, and a new game will come out. It's like, "Oh, shit, I really wanna play that." Like, I have the drive, and, like, it's very exciting, it's new and flashy, but, like, if I start playing it, I might not come back to the game I'm currently in, and, like, that's a dumb me problem, but I
No,
think
but it's a
time.
common problem though. Like I think that's like
Yeah.
to anyone that plays any extent of like video games beyond just their one favorite on their console. Like I think this is a common problem, and it's something I
Mhm.
totally run into too. I'm a busy guy, we got our lives going on and everything. We don't just have time for games all day. Wish we did, but we
Yes,
don't.
absolutely, but, like, like, maybe I'm in class, maybe I shouldn't be playing a game in class. I haven't yet, but, like, we'll see, maybe when I have my hands on a Vita. But the other thing I would say is some games are just hard to get a hold of, like, Persona 4 was a big one. It obviously came to Steam recently, which is really great, but before it's like to play, Golden, like, the best version, it's like you either have to own a Vita or you don't, and, like, some games are just very hard to actually, like,
Yeah, to
find a
physically
way to
play.
comfortably play them, so.
It's interesting you say that because I actually did a Twitter poll a couple weeks ago just saying like, hey, which of these classic PS1 games should I go back and check out in 2021? I like to go back and check
Mhm.
out the classics, right? And the one that won the poll was Metal Gear Solid, the original,
Okay.
on the PlayStation 1, and that game is actually surprisingly difficult to play in 2021. Like the best way, as far as I understand it, is if you don't have a PS1, is like to buy the PS1 Classic, which I don't really want to buy. But I don't think they even sell it on like the PlayStation Network store at this point. So it's just, I don't know, like it's one of those things that's just why can't we just download this game in this year? Why is the whole back catalog just not on the PlayStation Network? Like you'd only be making extra money if you put them on there. Like, it's
Yeah,
just
exactly. It was just kind of like a no-brainer, like, Nintendo's always the big example for that too. It's like, like, you're uploading these, like, retro games and consoles to the Switch Online store, but it's like, where all, like, the backlog of, like, all, like, the Zeldas and, like, all the like, the old Pokemon games and stuff. Like, you know how much money
mm-hmm,
people would pay? It'd
mm-hmm.
be like, "Oh, $10 for, like, Pokemon Yellow?" Like, "Fuck yeah, I'll pick that
Yeah.
up." Like,
Yeah, I mean they did release them on 3DS, I guess, but I don't know. And
yeah.
Nintendo's just so weird. I think they like to make things hard to get so they increase their value, and who knows. It
Mhm.
sucks for us though, that's for sure. But
Yeah, so any one of those things we brought up is the most
and many more.
inconvenient part is it's hard to nail down what's the most inconvenient part.
Exactly. And maybe that's the answer after all. But if you would like to let us know what the most inconvenient part of your video game playing habits are, let us know at circlesandsquarespod@gmail.com. Or at the top of the show, like I mentioned on our Twitter, at CANDSpod. We have a link tree there. You can find us in pretty much anywhere on the internet. Though you find podcasts if you just click that link. So follow along, subscribe on YouTube and all that good stuff. But again, thanks for joining us for our first episode of 2021, and we hope to see you on the next one in a couple weeks' time. So we'll see you then. The intro and outro music for Circles and Squares was produced by friend of the show, Matthew Chan. Interlude music is from Scott Gratton of the Free Music Archive. Our channel art was created by @unreasonable on Twitter, and our brother Alex is the designer of the Circles and Squares logo. Thank you all for listening and supporting the show.